Welcome, everybody, to the presentation, Everything You Ever Wanted to Know About InterLibrary Loan, but Were Afraid to Ask. This is a mini presentation within our Lunch and Learn series. We have some snacks and beverages for you in the back. So if you haven't already done so, please grab some from the back tables. By the way, this is a shortened version of a longer presentation that originally included more topics, like how to get around in the library, how to use reserves and e-reserves. But due to the shorter format, we are solely focusing on interlibrary loan today. Special welcome to our targeted audience, our incoming law students, our 1Ls, as we like to call them, and of course, some of the undergraduates taking law school classes. I'm also glad to see some familiar faces, as I'm sure our upperclassmen and classwomen will appreciate a refresher on the special service we have to offer here at the library, especially if you're a student volunteering for one of the in-house journals like Molly and Josh in the back. Just a fair warning to you both, I might have to call up on you later to recall some of your experiences with your library loan. But to start us all up, please raise your hand if you have not until today even heard of interlibrary loan. All right, I see a few hands, but no worries, we're here to change that together. Now, please raise your hand if you have already heard of this service before. Great, we have quite a few people already familiar with this concept. And finally, please raise your hand if you have even used this service before. Okay, only a handful of folks, but again, we are here to discuss when and why it is useful to do so. So what is interlibrary loan, you may ask? The name is quite telling, but let's turn to a source we are all very familiar with, Wikipedia. Molly, would you mind reading the definition out loud for everyone? Thank you. And yes, it is a service where a patron of one particular library can borrow books or any other library items for that matter that are owned by another library. And yes, ILL also means that you can receive photocopies of documents the same way, keeping copyright laws in mind, of course. So why is this such a big deal? Well, as you probably already know, our library is great and houses thousands and thousands of books and other resources. But obviously, we cannot own every single law-related book ever published, and neither can any other library in the world. But taking advantage of interlibrary loan service, we can unlock resources at other libraries in our state, in the whole country, and even on other continents, faraway continents, which I think is fascinating. So how do you determine when to use this service? Let's say the Georgia Law Review needs a certain book for a side check for one of the articles being published in the next issue. Josh, can you tell us what the first step is in trying to locate this particular book? Yes, that's right. We need to check our own catalog first. Here, we are using a catalog called Gavel, and then we'll check whether we have the physical book in our possession. So let me switch screens here real fast and pull up Gavel, which is how our library collection looks, or online catalog actually. So for the first example, I chose a very popular series in the supplements, examples and explanations, and we're going to search for the torts version. Examples and explanations. So here it is. You've seen I've done this before. So it's gonna tell us if we own these books. Oh yes, lovely. It shows us that we actually have the latest edition on reserve, and we have several other editions from earlier years, which are still very useful, in the balcony or in the basement. Therefore, it is unnecessary for us to utilize the interlibrary loan service because we have all of these books in multiple copies that are actually available in-house. So, very easy solution, no need to use the service. Now let's try something a little more challenging. If I remember correctly, the most latest journal request was for a book with the relatively long title of Guilty, The Collapse of Criminal Justice by the author Rotwax from 1996. So let's type that in. Okay, you see I've done this before too. And of course, I should have done the title search, which I'm going to go back and do. Okay. And we are here And the catalog's telling us that if we had that book, it would be listed amongst these other ones, but we don't own this book. But how lucky are we that before we think about even utilizing interlibrary loan service, we have other campus libraries actually not too far from us, like UGA's main library, just a few steps across the North Quad. And here on the right side, you see under other resources that we can directly connect to their catalog and check the availability of this book. Now, fair warning, this link does not always work, which I think is going to be the case this time, but we're going to try this anyway. And this has something to do with harmonizing our services and websites and firewalls, which is way beyond my understanding. But yes, unfortunately, this is not working right now. But fear not, because we can go and utilize the main library's own website, which we know how to get to, and do a search over there. So we're going to write in guilty. What was it called? The Collapse of Criminal Justice. Criminal justice. And see where we go. Voila. Apparently, yes, it's by the correct author, correct year. It is available just a few steps away from us at UGA's main library. It tells us which floor. It's actually in the leisure collection, which I find interesting, but never mind. And we can just go over and check it out. Again, we have dodged a bullet. We didn't have to go and jump through hoops and order this via interlibrary loan. Beautiful. Okay, now we're going to go back to our own database. See, this is why it would be easier if our link actually worked, but I know technical services is already working on fixing it, and hopefully soon it'll be up and running again. Now, there's something that I'm interested in checking out. I saw a documentary about Winston Churchill the other day, and there were some really interesting quotes from him. As we know, he's famous for some of his quotes. So that's what I would like to do, find the book with his quotations. And I'm going to use the title search and put in the quotable Winston Churchill. And see where we get. Again, this is not a book we own. It's marginal. We could own it, but we don't own it. Maybe nobody's done any research relating to that. But if we had the chance to use this link, I would click that, but we know it's not working. Therefore, we're going to go back. This is a lot of jumping up and down, and use the main library search. So we're going to put in the quotable Winston Churchill. Here's my slow typing. And interestingly enough, the main library here at the University of Georgia does not own a copy of this either. Very interesting. But this would actually give us the chance to use interlibrary loan. Finally, this far into our presentation, we're going to get there. So we've established that we do not own this. We established that the main library on campus doesn't own this. We can just go and request it on the right side from interlibrary loan right here. In the meantime, I would like to point out what other options this little box offers us. If we were interested in what other library in the world owns this, we could check WorldCat, which we're not going to do right now. It's just for our curiosity. The librarian working with interlibrary loans is going to check this and order this from the closest library possible anyway, but this is for our entertainment if we're interested. And if you were also looking for similar books on the topic, but you weren't sure about the title or how far you need to do research in this topic, you could ask a reference librarian and pull up the chat. Again, we're not going to do that to save time, but these are all options offered here. What we are going to do is click on interlibrary loan request. As you see, it pulls up my name and my ATAN number because it's saved on this computer. But yes, it's going to ask for you to authenticate yourself. firewalls, cybersecurity, all that good stuff, and to identify yourself, basically, for us to know who is actually requesting this. And once you do that, you have the actual web form, you have the form that you need to fill out. Beforehand, this is a law library after all, so there has to be a disclaimer of some sort. It explains that this is a service available to University of Georgia School of Law faculty, staff, and students. Sorry, alumni, you're not included. And it also tells us, please allow 2 or 3 weeks for materials to arrive. Yes, especially in this day and age, snail mail is really slow. It might take a while for these resources to get to us. And it also tells us that in some instances, we may be charged for shipping, or there may be a fee involved. Not every library is a free lender. We are, actually, but not every library follows that policy. Therefore, there might be some kind of a fee associated with this. Obviously, we'll let you know, and we'll try to get the free copy first, but you will be given the option to either be willing to pay the amount necessary or just cancel the request. And I also like to point out that this waiting time could be drastically shortened if you decide to order just copies, just scans of certain pages, because sometimes that's within the day. And Molly and Josh can remember that that has happened quite a few times with the journal requests. Now, once you've read and understood the disclaimer, because it's really important, what are the questions that we have here? Obviously, as much information about the book as you know. Who's the author? What's the exact title? Do you know the place and date of publication? Here you could say that you're not willing to pay a dime. You could put in $0, and then I don't have to contact you in case I can only get this for a certain amount. You could put in additional comments. This is where you put in if you know the exact page numbers, so I know. There's also a little date specification at the end that you need this before the end of the semester for your research. And if we can't get it before the end of the semester, this is null and void. You're not interested in getting it. This has happened recently. We had one of the students requesting something. She put in, I think, April 4th. The book arrived on April 5th, and I was so happy that I got pretty close to the deadline. And then when I contacted her, she told me that it actually was too late for her, but the book wasn't that expensive. So she ordered a copy on Amazon, and it all worked out for her. And basically, we were a little late, we were a little slow, not because of our fault, but because of, how the mail works. So this is important to fill out as well. So once you put in all this information, you can submit this request. What happens if you submit the request? The request arrives at the librarian who is going to deal with that, and they will start working on it. Find the best options, find the shortest way, try to find libraries that are close to us, and you just have to wait. Once we get the actual item, which is usually a book, or it could be a scan. With the scan, it's very easy. You will be notified, and your notification email will also have the scans as an attachment. They are yours. You can work with them, and very happy ending to our ILL story. If it's a book or a DVD or a microfilm, then you will be notified that it has arrived, that you can pick it up at our circulation desk, and it will also tell you the due date when we need this item back. Please remember that the lending library is basically doing us a favor, letting us use their own books, microfilms, DVDs, whatever we're talking about, and they are dictating the rules. So if they said that they want this back within a month, they want this back in a month, and we have to play nice to maintain our good relationship so we can borrow from them again. Is it possible to keep this item longer? Yes, no, maybe. We can always request a renewal, and usually these requests are granted. We can ask for an additional few weeks in most cases. But again, this is the lending library's decision. So if they do not want to loan this to us, they can say, no, you've had this for long, please send it back. And again, I ask for you to bring that back so we can play nice and keep on borrowing from them. Once it's returned, the story comes to an end, and it was a very successful interlibrary loan request where even though we did not own a copy of a certain item, we could get it for you from a different library anywhere basically in the world. This concludes this brief presentation about ILL. I'm sure that there are some additional questions you might have. Please look for me after the presentation and we can discuss it, or at the circulation desk the next time you come to the library. Also, if you're interested in watching a short video on the same topic or on any other library service, please visit our website where you can browse the collection of our training videos. Thank you all for coming, and I hope to see you again in the library very soon.